None of any of those gadgets, the robots, the gizmos, none of it that we saw at CES works without the technological brain of the chips inside them, and the chip makers are in their own kind of Star Wars-esque battle to up the compute power and prove to the CES crowd and shareholders that their company will lead the AI race. For one of them, CES was a make-it-or-break-it moment. That company, Intel, whose CEO unveiled its new Panther Lake chip with the 18A processor.
I'm pleased to share that we have delivered our commitment on shipping our first 18A products. We pushed the limit of the design and also in the process technology and the advanced packaging, and all come together. Only Intel can do that all together.
Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan speaking to a packed house in Vegas, but his message aimed at perhaps his most important business partner, the President of the United States, who ordered the U.S. government to take a 10% stake in the company. Intel's chief flew right from Vegas to Washington to deliver the message to the president in person. President Trump then sending his own message to the world and investors about Intel, whose stock, by the way, is up 11% today. Trump posting on Truth Social that the partnership has made, quote, tens of billions of dollars for the American people, and, quote, our country is determined to bring leading-edge chip manufacturing back to America. Wouldn't have happened without my next guest. Joining me now on a Fox Business exclusive, former Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who is now a general partner at the VC firm Playground Global. I mean, it's no denying that Intel's stock has done incredibly well since the United States government took a 10% stake in it back in August. If you just look at the 6-month chart, I mean, this is a pretty stunning picture. And what you see is that over the past 6 months, Intel's up 94%. And if you look at the 6 months prior to that, it was, what, down 5%. Tell me how you feel about being a shareholder and having the government be a shareholder and being the fuel boosting the Intel stock rise.
Well, you know, first I'd say congratulations to the Intel team. Getting 18A done, getting Panther Lake, you know, the new chip that they announced. You know, these, you know, I worked hard on those. And
these are your initiatives that began years ago.
Yeah, and so proud of the team to get those across the line, because that was really the fulfillment of the strategy that we laid out, the milestone of showing the most advanced chip back in America. And the U.S. government coming into the cap table, I think, is a good thing. The national champion has the U.S. government participating in it, and obviously the stock market has seen that favorably. You know, and the metric, Liz, though, is how many wafers are being built in America. That is the only thing that matters. This is a great milestone, but we have a long journey to reshore those supply chains.
That's where Intel stands out. It has the foundry or manufacturing business. That was your big strategy push several years ago when you took over at Intel. I mean, I remember you appearing with President Biden, and you got that money from the CHIPS Act, which then sort of began to be the spark in just outside Columbus, Ohio, my old stomping grounds at Channel 6, Action News. You know, I look at that and I wonder, what's going on with the foundry business right now? They have a few customers, but they don't have the big names yet, Pat.
Yeah, super critical. They have to stay on that journey. You know, it's hard to win that manufacturing back. You know, it took decades for it to sediment into Asia. It doesn't come back quickly. And this milestone this week was a good milestone, but it's just a milestone. You know, we need the big chip manufacturers in the U.S., AMD, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Apple. All of those need to come back into the foundry of the U.S. and the foundry of Intel. That's the plan, that's the strategy. And I'm certainly encouraged to see these milestones, but we have a lot more to do.
Well, for now, they're turning to Taiwan Semi in mostly Taiwan, although Taiwan Semi is building out in the United States. But how, if you were the CEO, would you go about landing an AMD or an NVIDIA? Lisa Su was sitting in that chair about a month ago. I mean, we just talked to her at CES, but a month ago I said, would you trust Intel's foundry right now to manufacture chips? And she said, well, I would never say never. She did not commit. Jensen Huang has not committed, even though he threw $5 billion at Intel, but nobody's committed. What would you do if you were CEO to grab that?
I would be driving that hard. And to me, that becomes...
Driving what hard, though? That it's on U.S. soil?
That it's on U.S. soil. Obviously, the relationship with the U.S. government is critical in that capacity. Obviously, I view the government policies here, right? It's not just chips, but it's also tariff policy. It's also reshoring the supply chains to go with it. All of these things. This is hard. It took decades for them to move away. It will take a while to get them back in the U.S. This week was a great milestone at CES, but a lot more work needs to happen. And to me, every day you are selling those capabilities to bring Foundry and wafers back to the United States.
For our investor audience who may or may not be invested in Intel, let's speak to the ones who aren't. How is this 18A process, which is called a node? The node is what's needed for the manufacturing piece of it, not the design, right? So how does the node become this game changer?
Yeah, first you have to get back in the game. Intel had dropped out of the game. We laid out this aggressive strategy to get back to leadership technology. 18A is that, but you have to continue, right? And every node has to continue on those advancements. So you have to have the best transistors. You have to have a lot of those transistors, e.g. a lot of capacity, and then they have to be cost effective. And for that, this is a great milestone, but it's just a milestone on a long journey.
What do you think would it take for Intel to land, say, the custom chip makers like Broadcom or Marvell to come under the fold of the manufacturing area?
And obviously, this is what they need to do. And, we were working on that when I was there, and I'm really excited to see that continuing thrust on the part of the Intel team. And I just wish them my absolute best to bring those customers across the line. They need to bring those wafers home. They need to come to Intel. And obviously, for us, hey, we're trying to create a lot of the companies and the technology that help bring other parts of the supply chain back to the U.S. as well.
Obviously, you are now in the venture capital world, and your focus is on AI, but particularly the energy needs, the amount of compute, and we heard this from both Lisa Su and Jensen Huang, everybody else, we need more compute, more compute. Well, that takes a heck of a lot of energy. That's why you see the names like Oklo and Vistra jumping today on that Meta deal. Those are the nuclear companies.
As well.
This is a check all the boxes issue, is it not? How are we going to provide that kind of energy when we have an aging grid and nobody seems to be able to ramp up quickly except the small modular nuclear guys?
The challenge here is that we have to use the energy more efficiently. So the AI chips and the power delivery and companies like Power Lattice that I just brought out of stealth last month, these are companies that make more of the energy get to compute. And those are critical pieces. Every day we have to make the chips more efficient, but fundamentally in a digital AI era, economic capacity equals energy capacity. We need more energy.
I mean, how important should this be for this nation? Should it be a national effort? Oh,
absolutely. And if you think about it, we, over the last couple of decades, our energy capacity has been increasing like 1% to 2% per year. Pitiful. And now with the AI surge, it's increasing 4% per year. Today, if we were in China, they have 39 nuclear reactors under construction today. In the U.S., we have 0. Right, we have just underinvested.
Well, Constellation Energy Group is trying to restart.
Yeah, and these are important steps, but we are 39 to 0, right? And for that, we need to uprate the nuclear capacity that we have. We need to bring energy to building more nuclear capacity. Obviously steps this week with oil capacity as well. But we have dramatically underinvested. And if our chips are more powerful, but we don't have the energy to power them, then the AI will move to other places. We will lose the AI race without enough energy to power the AI. But we're also working on radical things. And one of my favorite little companies is Snowcap, using superconducting that portends to be 100 times more power performant than today's CMOS and AI chips of today. So we're going to do radical innovation that keeps us in the front of this race.
Snowcap, we'll remember that. Bring them on the show. We want to hear more about that. Finally, is there anything about the atmosphere of investing right now when it comes to AI that concerns you? There's this round-trip investment concern where, for example, OpenAI gets a huge payment from NVIDIA. They turn around and take that money to buy NVIDIA chips. And it almost feels like these are strange operations that if one leg of the stool is kicked out, there could be a domino effect in a negative way when it comes to investors who are piling into these names?
Yeah, fundamentally, I'm not concerned. I mean, are we in bubble territory? Hey, we're at all-time multiples, so I think we all feel like we're bubble. But underneath this, AI and cloud companies, they're real revenue, real balance sheets, so the low side is, we've overbuilt capacity a little bit too quick. And on the upside, we're limited by energy. So to some degree, I'm not worried about the pace of investment in AI because of that, range that we have that's sort of keeping us from getting too crazy, right? And we have good floors. But unless we drive a more efficient and more energy capacity, our nation will lose the AI race.
Pat Gelsinger, former CEO of Intel and now with Playground, it's great to see you.
Always, Liz. Anytime I can join you, I'm a yes.
I know, and you were one of my first guests on my Everyone Talks to Liz podcast, and I encourage everybody to look that one up because you'll know more about this guy, a lot more, and your religious background and how important faith is to you and how it has driven your success.
We're going to do the right things. We're going to make technology better, and companies like my Glue effort are making AI better as well.
Good to see you.